Hi folks, Marty here. Today we're going to take a look at some trees and how to paint different types of trees. So here we go. We're going to first of all work on the tree trunk, and my go-to colors for this are ultramarine blue and either burnt umber or burnt sienna. And the thing with trees is it all depends on what time of year you're painting them, seasonally that is, and what kind of light happens to be on the trees at the time, what time of day it is. They all affect what you're doing. Okay, so I've made up what I call my tree color. Okay, and then I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. Maybe make that just a wee bit darker there. Okay, so not too wet. You want it to be thick enough. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here on this side. And I'm just kind of dragging up the tree trunk here. And then okay, so you can let that just go out to the point if you want. Maybe have it breaking off here, maybe. And maybe a couple of other branches coming off of here. These are our main branches, and off these we're going to have the smaller ones. I think we'll work with that. Okay, I'm going to switch to my rigger now. I'm going to just drag off some thinner branches. Just get some more paint made up. Takes a wee bit of an act just to get the that loose flow right, you know. Don't over analyze the thing, you know. Okay, that's coming on. Let me switch the two different types of rigger here. One's a wee bit thicker than the other. This wee thin one's great for just doing those wee fine branches. Just making this up as you go. If you have a photograph you're working from, you're trying to interpret it. Don't be trying to paint every single branch. when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, you know, if there was light shining on that tree, if the light was maybe coming from this area here, what I might be inclined to do is just put a couple of wee bits of water down here, like this here, and the old tissue, give it a wee wipe here and there. Just gives it the impression that there's light breaking through. It makes that all nice and sparkly there. Okay, so I'm just gonna dry that off now. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just make up a bit of a dry color here. I want to give the impression that there's some leaves on these trees. You don't want to be painting every single leaf either. You just want to give the impression. So if you haven't already made green up, that's great. Or if you want to make your own, you can go into your yellow and blue. So I just grabbed a wee bit of turquoise green there just to get me going. But if you don't have that, just use a yellow and a blue. Okay, so I just want this to be kind of light. So what I want to do is just give the impression that there's leaves here. So what you do is you just grab your brush like this and just get a wee bit more made up there. Try that. Okay. I'm using the side of the brush. So you're painting kind of like this here, just dragging it along the side of the paper. Obviously, on the inside of the tree towards the center, there's going to be more bits of shadow and stuff. So these lighter bits are more inclined to be on the outside where the sun's hitting the tree. But we don't want to overdo this either. We just want to keep it nice and loose. Okay, I think that'll do that. So I will just dry this off now. Okay, so this bit here, I kind of like to do the trunks like this because this could be grass coming up this, or if it was a winter scene with snow, that could be the basis of where the snow is laying at the bottom of the tree. Okay, so I'm kind of looking at this and I think it's just taking out a wee bit too much paint for me. It all depends on the staining quality of your paint. If it's very staining, it will be hard to lift off. And sometimes that can work for you as well if you only want to take a wee bit off. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go over that with a wee bit of a glaze, if you know what I mean. So water down. It looks a bit more natural. And I just want to try and blend that. So I'm giving it a wee wipe with the tissue. What that does helps to just settle it down a wee bit. And if I wanted to, I could pull out some wee bits of twigs and stuff here and what have you. Yes, I think that's looking better. So I'll just dry that off. Okay, this next tree, I'm going to have it with more leaves on it, so it will look a bit fuller. So what I'll do is I'll go back into that mix again, which is my go-to. It's the burnt umber with a wee bit of ultramarine blue there. And then start off with the tree trunk. Make sure there's enough pigment in it. So if you've got a shaky hand here, it comes in really useful. It's one thing about art, you don't need a steady hand. I'm going to keep the trunk of this quite short. Okay, so when we're going up the tree, what we want to do is have, if we can follow the line of the tree trunks, but kind of have it hit and miss here and there. And the reason being is because we can fill those in with leaves at the next stage. And this will be where I've left gaps and so on. That will make it look like that there's holes in the tree, holes in the leaves. And don't worry about that if you are having difficulty with it. There's ways around it, and we can think of ways to just make it look more authentic. Okay, so if you can imagine, me putting the leaves in here, it'll look like these branches are just going up through them. So you're kind of hitting and missing, lost and found, if you like. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I want to put a bit of light hitting that tree there. So what I've done is I've cleaned my brush, and I'm just going to use it like this here, just to lift bits of pigment off again. So brush can be used to either paint or to do the reverse, if you like. I'm just making it look like there's just light hitting the side of it. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I will dry that off now. Okay, so now we're ready for the leaves. I want to make up two colors here. I'm dipping into some of my yellow here. Okay. I want this to act as the lighter part of the leaves where the sun is hitting. I want a stronger color here. So I'm going to go into my blues because this is a good way of making my own color. And a wee bit of that yellow ochre. So this is where the tree leaves are going to be in shadow. So same as before, just paint on using the side of your brush. All right, so here we go. We add a wee bit of yellow ochre into that just to make it a wee bit stronger and more opaque. Dip into my yellow and a wee bit of blue. So this side of the tree is the part of the tree that's in shadow, okay? So I'm going to start pulling in some of that stronger color. Maybe get a wee bit more of that. Just drag the brush here and there. You don't want it to be a completely blocked out color, you know. Just big sweeps like that do the job. And then with that stronger color, I'm just hitting underneath those lighter bits. Okay, that's coming on. I'm going to get a stronger mix of that. So I went into my ultramarine blue there. And I'm just going to grab some of that yellow ochre. So I want this to be pretty strong because it's going to be on the side of here. And I don't mind if it looks a bit blue like that. I always like to see that in my trees, because I know it will tone down. I'm just putting wee bits here and there. So just preserve these little holes in the tree. Makes it look like there's wee gaps and so on. All right. I don't want to work that too much more. Okay. So what I will do is dry that off. Okay, so that's 2 trees there. I'm going to do another one, maybe a shorter one. So again, I'm sure you're getting used to this color combination by now. Burnt umber and ultramarine blue. Or use your burnt sienna as well if you don't have any burnt umber. Okay, so I'm going to make this tree a bit shorter this time, and then give the leaves a bit more of a, I suppose, a mushroomed effect. Just make sure you've got that color nice and strong to begin with. Okay, so we pop this in beside here. And then I'll switch to my other brush. Okay, and this time what I'm going to do, after I just mop up some of that water or paint that's gathering here, okay, I'm just using my brush and I'm just touching it like this here. Just wee touches, okay? And what that does, it mops up the excess paint and keeps it from pooling down at the bottom, okay? And I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to just use the brush to actually lift off some of the paint to make it look like there's sun on that side of the tree. All right, and I'm going to get this dried off now. So this tree is going to be a wee bit shorter this time, and I'm going to have the light still coming from the same direction. What's always a good idea is to draw a little sun wherever you're going to have it, wherever you're planning on having it, and then imagine those sun rays coming down and hitting the object that you're painting. So you'll know that the lighter pigment and paint will be on the top and the darker in the shadow underneath. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to mix up some autumny colors. So I want to clear one of these wells. So I'm going to bring in another wee palette here that has lemon yellow and an orangey yellow. So to make up our autumny colors, I want nice coppery colors. So that would be a little too yellow for my liking at the minute. So what I'll do is I'll add a wee bit of alizarin crimson into that. Okay. And then this will be for the lighter part of the tree where the sun's hitting it. So over here, I want to mix up something that's a wee bit deeper. So I'll go into my light red. That's the one that's like a terracotta. And then maybe pull a wee bit of a cadmium red in that as well. You don't want it to be too red. But what I'm going to do this time maybe is try a different brush. I'm going to try this here. It's a 1/2 inch hake brush, and it will soak up a lot of the paint. But what you do is you just give it a wee touches like this here. Just needs a wee bit more water on it, a bit more pigment. Don't forget to leave little gaps here and there. These brushes are great for doing grass and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't have one, don't worry, just use the biggest round head brush you have. Okay, so you got to plan this. You just got to think about where you want some of those little holes and gaps in the trees to be. I'm just going to run that into its neighbor there. All right. So now I'm going to go into that stronger color. And this is going to be our shadowy color. I'm just going to drop that in here and there. And I think what we'll do is we'll add a wee bit of blue into that mix. Cobalt blue, that is. And that'll help to just darken that down a bit, but still keeping that warm color. And then we'll just throw a wee bit on here and there. Keep it nice and creamy. You don't want it too watery. Just drop it wee bits in here. Don't overdo it again. So this is a bit, that's really in shadow here. Okay. what I'm going to do now is just grab some of that branch colour. As you might know now, it's burnt umber and ultramarine blue. And what I want to do here is just paint in a couple of wee branches and so on, just to give the impression that there's gaps in that tree and you can, like a little window that you can see through. And then some of those branches will obviously poke through as well. And don't worry if you overdo it, and you can just get your wheel tissue there and just tone it down a wee bit. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we'll maybe do some silver birch trees, and this time I'm going to use, you can use a credit card or a bit of plastic. So again, get some of that strong colour made up, ultramarine and burnt umber. It just doesn't have to be silver birch trees you're using here. You can do this with any kind of tree, and it's a good way to get texture into it. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to get the card. I'm actually going to put the paint on the card, but make sure it's quite thick in texture. Okay, and then I'm going to get the card and just even do it like that, just touch that, and then pull the tree up. Maybe do a couple of, maybe one on a bit of a different angle. Okay, and then what I can do is go back to a smaller brush. Just fix up the bottoms of these a wee bit. Okay. And what I can do now is switch to my rigger. And I can pull out some branches here and there. And then what I can do now, I can mix up a bit of a grey colour. And what we can do is drop that down the side like this. forget, you can use your tissue just to soften that up a little. And with the tissue, soften it up. And what I might do is put some more little twigs and so on just coming out of the bottom of that. So there you have it. There's 4 trees. Do some trees in the distance, trees that are all clumped together. So if I'm doing trees in the distance, what I like to do is keep them all like a bluey grey colour. You don't want them too strong. And what this will do is it'll push them into the distance. If you get any paint spilt on your canvas or your paper, just give it a wee wipe like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, I'm going to pretend that these trees are all in the foreground here, you know, and they're all part of a picture. And what I'll do is I'll put little trees in the background here. So the way I'll do that is I'll make up that bluey green color. So you want this to be quite light, not too strong at all. And this might be a good place to use your little scrap piece of paper just to test these out. So again, you can do these very, very light like that. It depends how far in the distance you want them. I think we'll go with that. And if you can imagine a lot of trees just clumped together in the distance there, they're going to be quite soft. And don't forget, you can use a bit of tissue paper just to give that a wee top, just to tone it down a bit. And what you can do is go a wee bit more into that yellow there, that yellow ochre, and just drop that in. Just drop it at the bottom here. Just makes it look like there's depth. Okay. And then I'm just going to kind of run that off as if there's snowy banks or whatever there. And then more towards the bottom, I'm going to go into my ultramarine blue a wee bit there, a wee bit stronger, and just drop wee bits in here and there. Okay, so I'm just going to let that blue soak in a wee bit there so it's not too strong. Okay, so I'll give it a wee dry off. And there you have that. So that's some distant trees there. Of course, it depends what time of the year it is, and they could be in autumn colors. So you could just use the colors that you did for this tree if you wanted, but have it in the distance and have them all clumped together. And all you would need to do now is just grab some of that blue there and give it a wee bit of colour in that sky there. And just go into that with the tissue just to soften it up as if there's clouds and so on there. Okay, so I could do that right across there if I wanted and just turn that into a, a park or a playground that has a lot of variety of different trees. You could bring your grass into the foreground and just butt it up to those trees. Or else you could turn this into a snow scene and then you could start to build your snow up in different colors and textures. So there's a lot of things you can do there. You can start to see the picture starts to come together and take shape. So what I'm going to do now is pop in a few wee birds in the distance. But the sky's still a wee bit dry up there, so I'm just, if you do make a bit of a mistake and get your timing wrong, don't forget you can go into that with clean water and just massage that area like that. Get your tissue and then just dab out that area, and there you go. Watercolor to me seems to be all about learning how to fix your mistakes. And the more you get into it, well, you'll always make mistakes. It's a case of making them work for you. And you can't have too many happy accidents. I think that's the joy of watercolor painting. You just don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. It's very unpredictable. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just run some color along that background there. I want this to be in the distance. I'm going to do this very quickly. I'll give that a wee dry off. So there you go. You can just give out the impression that there's little trees and bushes and Don't overdo it, just keep it all very loose and impressionistic. And I'll just give it a wee quick dry off. Okay, that's 4 trees for you. Have a go at those and try to incorporate those into your landscape paintings. And before you know it, you'll be not even having to look at these trees for reference materials or source materials. You'll be able to just do them out of your head. And I've done some background trees there as well, just to give you an idea of different ideas and things you can do there just to fill out the background of a picture. But you experiment with your own and style and just work out of your imagination as well and just see what you can come up with. And until next time, keep painting and I'll see you soon.